There is a very clear mismatch between what is taught in schools and what is expected out of people when they enter employment. And typically this is a problem where it comes to people having learned something very theoretical in school. And then when it comes to actual practice, they almost have to be retaught or reskilled in a way. There's a lack of creativity amongst a lot of people entering a new employment. And there is also the issue of multidisciplinarity. So maybe you, of course, have studied finance, but as you work in the finance industry, you're going to be working with a lot of other industries that are co-connected to that, depending on what you're doing. And so multidisciplinarity is missing quite significantly for a lot of people entering the employment. And I think something that is probably equally important that's missing for a lot of people is the ability to influence. This is more important actually for one's internal development than it might be for the organization. It might become more important as you progress within that organization, as you work with bigger and bigger clients. But ultimately, if you want to progress and be successful in a career, the ability to influence and use a little bit of a sales methodology. I'm not talking to, say, outside clients, but also within your own teams. If you're going to promote a new idea or concept or a new strategy for your organization, the ability to influence and sell is key. I think the job of simulations is to get people to do. Learn by doing rather than learn by reading a book or going through some sort of a theory-based approach. Simulations test your abilities to actually execute, and it actually is a true way of determining whether you have actually learned the materials. And if you haven't, it's a safe space to make errors. Because the big problem that a lot of us, especially in education, make is that we always assume that you always have to get the right answer, and if you don't get the right answer, you don't pass. And this is unfortunately a really bad way of learning. As humans, we're actually in a much better position to learn by making mistakes. And if you look at some of the best companies out there, from Apple, IKEA, Microsoft, and so forth, they made tons of mistakes to get where they are today. So why are we telling students that you have to get it right, or you fail this entire course or program? Why don't we run a much stronger simulation-based approach where it's okay to make mistakes? The important thing is, have you learned from your mistakes? Can you execute on, say, your deliverables or any other things that you're looking to get out of the simulation? And I think that's the sort of mindset a lot of people need to have, is that the world's problems are complex and the solutions have to be complex. And the only way to do that and ascertain some sort of an answer is to do a simulation where you might get a lot of different answers depending on the variables you use. So the Chartered Management Institute did a really interesting study in 2022, I think, or 21, which showed that about 80% of employers felt that the people that they employ are not ready for the jobs that they employ. And if you think about that, 80% is a very high number. These people are going to require anywhere from 3 to 12 months to learn the skills that they actually need for the job. Now, that's a wasted time. And so if that person was already ready from the get-go, and on top of that, perhaps more knowledgeable about sustainability issues, more creative, perhaps a bit more multidisciplined too, the amount of value that they could provide to the organization and to its clients would be seen at a much faster or an earlier stage of that organization from when they have joined than it is typically today. And so I think ultimately what you would see are probably more productive organizations, and you would probably see the outcome in the bottom line. You would see that people have a better, let's say, relationship earlier on with clients when they start with these companies. So I think that would be, let's say, the consequence of the consequence, is that it's not just that they could progress themselves in the job, but you're actually saving a lot of wasted time and a lot of wasted resources on training people who should ideally already be trained for those positions already.